Ladies and gentlemen, the UK is announcing that they are exploring a meat tax in order to save the planet. McDonald's is announcing their new plant-based McPlant. Nestle is introducing bug-based dog food, starting to normalize the idea of eating insects as protein, even as they concede that yes, Nestle, the world's largest food company, wants to come for your cravings. They want to control your diet. But you know that if you've been watching this channel by now, that's a lot to swallow. So let's start off with some delicious predictive programming. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer broadcast.
Taco Bell restaurants are going 100% green. Now, they're going to have the same menu items that you've come to know and love, but none of the ingredients are taken from nature.
And that means zero environmental impact. So joining us now live is Paul Lancaster, spokesman from Taco Bell. Hi, Paul.
Hello, Jim. Hello, Tracy.
Now, Paul, nothing on Taco Bell's new menu uses anything that came from nature.
Not a single ingredient. Starting this week, all of the ingredients that we use are going to be produced in labs by special Taco Bell food synthesizers.
Wow, and it tastes the same as before, Paul.
You can't even tell the difference.
Oh, the lettuce looks so realistic.
Now, how hard was it to make the leap into the eco-friendly menu?
Well, at Taco Bell, we have a long tradition of taking as little as possible from the natural world.
Right.
Our ground beef, for example, has always been fairly eco-friendly. It's 85% gluten filler, 8% petroleum-based grease flavoring, but it's always had 4% meat.
Well, that's bad
from
for
real
the
livestock.
environment.
Well, exactly right. But with Taco Bell's new green initiative, we've actually been able to replace that 4% meat with a simple chemical adhesive.
So you're not wasting food or water to feed the cattle.
That's right.
And because you're using no natural ingredients whatsoever anymore, I understand you're able to add something that you're calling Super Green Supreme menu items that you never would have been able to do before.
Yes, at Taco Bell, Jim, we are changing the definition of food. Starting next month, we're introducing the Ultimate Grande Crunchador, which is jam-packed with chunks of an ingredient that has no equivalent in the natural world.
Wow, that does
We
look
also have a
filling.
new chalupa,
Yes.
which removes the carbon dioxide and pollution from the air around it so that it helps reduce global warming.
Look at that. So we're eating at Taco Bell, we're cleaning the earth.
That's right.
Wow, what are these science
Amazing.
guys going to think up next?
Oh,
Huh?
listen,
Amazing.
in 3 years, we're planning to start melting down all of the lids, the straws, and the wrappers that the food comes in and recycle it into new Taco Bell foods. You will actually be eating the garbage you produce.
Isn't that something?
Oh.
That's quite an inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of fun, but also this is literally a litany of things that are actually going on right now. Social engineering being deployed through the major fast food companies, big multinational corporations, saying the words, we are reinventing food, redefining food. This is staggering. We also heard that, of course, the elimination of meat, substituting completely unnatural ingredients from lab-grown proteins they mentioned. They talked about some of our food will be created and will absorb CO2 from the air, which is actually happening now. There's a startup called Air Protein, synthesizing proteins using air, CO2 from the air, of course. And the upcycled food, they mentioned we're going to take trash and serve it back to you. That's happening too in the $50 billion a year industry known as upcycled food. So although that was a 2012 piece from The Onion, it was actually highly predictive in what's going on right now. And such is also the case with the April Fool's joke from last year from McDonald's. They announced April 1st, 2019. They said, we're going to be unveiling a completely 3D printed burger in 2020. And while McDonald's has not delivered on that April Fool's predictive programming, KFC, of course, has. They have introduced this year their new 3D printed chicken nuggets. It was deployed a Russian test prototype version of it, but planned to come soon to KFC near you. So you can have 3D printed protein at your fast food joint, a multinational company attempting to take total control over your food supply. You can see it aligns completely with the predictive programming in the past and a number of other Hollywood references as well that we won't go into now, because what is happening from McDonald's today is that they have unveiled, through a partnership with Beyond Meat, their new McPlant burger. I can't think of a better name. We'll just call it the McPlant, I guess. The burger is created by McDonald's and for McDonald's. And it sounds like a joke. It's a terrible name. Rather than the bean-laden veggie burgers of yore, these meat substitutes are now aiming to recreate the texture and the taste of meat. They can be eaten by vegetarians, but are more likely to be marketed to those who like meat but are trying to save the environment. Thank you, McDonald's, for saving the planet through your McPlant. Nestle, as well, as I mentioned, has really started blazing trails in the plant-based protein world, insect-based protein world, that is, by opening up a new line of products that is targeted at pets and involves insect-based proteins. The line of pet food, which is called, again, it's always Beyond or Impossible or Yummy or some name like this. It's Purina's Beyond Nature's protein line, and is going to, have insect protein that you feed your pets. Quote, insect protein offers a more sensible alternative to owners who want to offer livestock-free meat, right? Dairy without the cow, meat without the livestock. That is the theme of food tech, the food replacement industry, and it's in fast forward, high gear right now, rather than homemade vegetarian or vegan diets, which result in dogs that are not happy. But not content at just taking your dog meat away and giving them insect bugs, Nestle's also announced that they're moving rapidly into your food. They want to come for your lockdown cravings, and we see the CEO is trying to reshape the food and drink portfolio of the largest food company in the world. By and large, most food is controlled by, it's just like media, it's just like 5 or 6 multinational companies that have bought up all the competition, just like the seed companies, Monsanto, Syngenta. So is the case with processed foods and food distribution as well. So Nestle now signaling with Unilever, Mars, these big multinationals like Walmart, they want to decarbonize their food supply chains and sell you insects. So you read down here, they're moving more, realigning towards a more vegan lifestyle, vegan products. And down here, quote, a plant-based milk alternative using fava beans is one of their new offerings from Nestle. Again, milk without the cow. And then another plant-based drink using seeds and spices aimed at young flexitarians. Yes, that exploding market, sure to see double-digit growth and make the board very happy. Nice job, Nestle CEO. We all know that the real boss of that CEO is not the board of directors. It is the World Economic Forum and the UN and these other think tanks that are giving him his marching orders. Push the public onto insects. Get them off of meat. Push them onto vegan diets. So it's not just the big multinational companies, though, that are doing this. Here's Canada announcing that they need to start incentivizing dairy farmers to quit, to just stop producing milk, because we got bean-based, whatever it was, nasty veggie milk now, so we don't need your cows anymore. Starbucks, also another big multinational, has reduced the amount of dairy that they're serving out to their customers now as part of their own corporate sustainability plan to save the environment, just like Taco Bell, right? But here it is, quote, the government needs to create then, because of Starbucks, the Canadian government now needs to create a voluntary program for dairy farmers to exit the industry, to sell their cows, to stop producing food the old-fashioned way. This is a total technocratic takeover of food, and it's happening quickly right now. The UK government, I've mentioned before, is also themselves sponsoring new large industrial scale insect farms. And now the UK is also exploring, in order to help meet their farm to fork objectives and the UN sustainability goals, we need to add a carbon tax to meat in order to save the planet. The goal is to have this in place by 2025 in order to protect both public health and the planet. So again, that appeal, it's exactly the same language we saw from the Eat Lancet Commission when they said there's one lever, and it is food, that we must pull in order to solve the two existential crises facing humanity right now, the public health crisis of COVID and the environmental sustainability crisis of climate change. And now we're pulling that lever. We're taking away your meat. We're feeding your dog bugs. We're going to feed you bugs soon enough. And by 2025, we're going to have a luxury tax on meat so that we can push you onto these new non-unnatural products. I keep laughing because the Taco Bell piece is just so on point, and it's exactly where we are now. And I wish it weren't. But let me also remind you that this carbon tax now being proposed as the way we're going to meet our sustainable development goals was the outcome of the George Soros funded, John Podesta run food chain reaction game, which simulated a global collapse of the food supply after a pandemic in the year 2020. It's exactly the script we're walking through now. And beyond more global governance and cooperation, it also ended with a meat tax in order to help more sustainable goals. That's where we are now. And, you know, there's a piece here in The Spoon that I thought was interesting as well. Could Biden become the food tech president? Here are some ideas that could help make that happen. In other words, if we have our new administration in the United States with Biden at the helm, which I don't think will happen, here's what he can do to help U.S. match pace with the UK's bug factory and all these other things that are going on. Well, we need to create a food innovation hub and an investment fund to start targeting dollars straight into the insect farms and take it away from the carbon-based supply chain. There's a lot that's going on elsewhere in the world, but we need to be putting our dollars into, quote, spaces like alternative proteins, synthetic biology, and lab-grown meat, and other sources of food outside farming. Not farming and ranching. That's dying. That's dirty and old, and we're not funding that anymore. We need to fund alt food, food tech nastiness. Number 2, create a U.S. government office or an agency focused on food and ag innovation. This is one of the main points of the Rockefeller Foundation's Reset the Table document. So it is, like many other things, completely unsurprising to see it here in the media being called for. Our government really needs to do this. A food innovation czar, someone who's in charge of food innovation and digitizing the food supply chain. That means moving to the blockchain plus AI, the beast system I've talked about in the past. Build, number 4, a rock star advisory council on food innovation. You can see this is all about the fundamental transformation of the food supply, the great food transformation, the great reset as applied to food. Who are some rock stars that they recommend we add to our Food Innovation Council? Well, you can start with Jennifer Doudna, who invented the CRISPR gene editing technology. Great. Let's invite more and more GMO in. Okay, that's a clear goal here. Number 2, Pat Brown, CEO of Impossible Foods, the guy who says we can end animal agriculture and wants to push fake meat onto every plate. It's clear who these people are. Genetically modified, fake lab-grown meats. This is the end. Still, this Rockstar Advisory Council is people who are advocating and actually executing on the agenda of eliminating natural food. Again, just like the predictive programming. So I just thought that this kind of propaganda really around what the future of food should be if we had our Biden administration here in the U.S. was indicative of this great food transformation, and where everyone's been telling us we need to go, especially the Rockefellers and the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and these sorts of players. So ladies and gentlemen, let's end it there today with a healthy dose of predictive programming, and then unfortunately the reality that we have entered solidly into that world of multinational companies delivering fake food in the name of saving the environment. Thanks for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find this report and all my reports on iceagefarmer.com. Please get off YouTube. If you're still watching this video on YouTube, head over to lbry.tv/@iceagefarmer, or odyssey.com is another front end they've just added. It's a game changer, and that platform is doing well. I'm still publishing to bitshoot.com/iceagefarmer as well, but do not trust YouTube. Do not trust twitter.com/iceagefarmer. Still there, don't trust it. Those are enemy platforms. If you value this broadcast and the information I bring, please support it. You can find a few ways of doing that at iceagefarmer.com/support. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for watching. Please spread the word. Let's go grow abundant amounts of food, raise incredible animals that are not gene edited, disgusting GMO things, and build great things.